This video is made about almost 4 days after the calculated end of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle according to Bibudev Misra. It's now the 24th of March 2025, and we are in a different energy. We are in a different cycle. The age of transition, the EKPYROSIS, the transition, the transformation through fire has begun, according to the calculations of Bibudev Misra. We had a lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago. We're having a solar eclipse this week. We had the autumn equinox last Thursday in this part of the world, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere last Thursday. And we had the end of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle according to Bibudev Misra last week. Now, my weekend was incredible. I did a sweat lodge, Lakota Sioux sweat lodge, on this Saturday, rather than going to a festival called Earthbeat. I wanted to purify into the lodge, so I fasted for the day and did the lodge, and the lodge was amazing. And my experience fasting before I did the lodge changed my experience deeply, and made the experience for me not easier, but the actual allowed me to go deeper into the lodge experience, fasting for the whole day while I did the lodge. And this came to me, it's not yesterday actually, this came to me, this I would call it a download, came to me yesterday. And whether this actually happens in regards to the next 1200 years, if we actually do go through the age of the transformation through fire, EKPYROSIS, what the Greeks call in the ages of man, or we don't. I only look at the situation with information that I've been given, and I pass it through my own filters for discernment, and for me it feels like it needs to happen. Now, what I'm about to say is not going to be, for some people, it's going to be quite triggering. But for me, it makes perfect sense that I include myself in this as well, have enabled a system for most of my life and most of our lives, people who are watching this video. We've allowed a fictitious, fraudulent system to operate and we've enabled that system to operate by giving our power over to a bunch of parasites, a small group of people, and we do it every day. People every day have given over their power to this parasite class. The structures, the constructs, the whole system itself, the legal system, the financial system, everything about this civilization is fraudulent and fictitious, and it's rotten to its core. It's corrupt to its core. And people giving away their energy into that system only enables it, but also what it does, it's bringing about the transformation. The age of transformation has to happen because we have done this. As a collective on this planet, we have handed our power over to the parasite class, and we still do it every day. I don't. The last 5 years of my life, 2020 was probably the most important year of my life. I have to admit that, because it allowed me to step into a place of a deep understanding of who I really am and who really moves through me, my creator. How I'm attached to the natural cycles, how I'm part of that cycle, how I'm part of a greater cycle than myself, and living that, embodying that. Being a man, being a spirit in a man's body. I'm not a fictitious character. I'm not a legal fiction. I'm a man. I'm a spirit in a man's body. I'm living, breathing. My creator is the only authority I bow down to. No public, corporations, no governments, they can all just fuck off. Police, everyone can fuck off. Unless I do harm and break the creator's law, you have no jurisdiction and no authority over me. That's it. You have no power over me whatsoever. And you won't for the rest of my life. Forget about it. I know who I am. I know who I bow down to. The only authority I bow down to is the creator. That's it. No one else. No one has power over me. And that 5 years of my life, this last 5 years of my life, have been so instrumental in me becoming this man, understanding who I am. But I know now, looking around me, there's so many people that are misdirected and distracted by this whole idea of an ascension process happening. And we're ascending into this fifth dimension or into this higher level of existence. Take a fucking good look around you at the people that I've met over the last 5 years who are struggling to survive in a Western, considered a first world country. Take a look around you at all the people in the developing world. Take a look around you at all the world theatres of war where people are being maimed, massacred and murdered and raped every fucking day. Take a look what's happening in Europe, in the Middle East, in Syria. The Alawites being persecuted, the Christians being persecuted and murdered and raped, massacred. Gaza, enormous massacre of people. Unbelievable destruction, suffering. Look what's happening in African countries. Somalia. Look what's happening in Yemen. The American military every day bombing, well not every day, but bombing the Yemenis, the Houthis in Yemen. Look at the conflict in the Middle East. Look at what's happening all over the world. Look at the suffering that is going on globally, not in even in yourselves. Take a look at your own lives and tell me that you are going to ascend into the highest dimension. When you live in, most people I know live their lives with no honor, no virtue, and no righteousness in regards to doing the right thing. They do the right thing by themselves because they're deeply narcissistic. And I'm not judging them. It's just a fact that most people are self-serving and self-absorbed that I know. And that's just the nature of where we are at in our lives. And I'm not judging them for their behavior. Look, I am sometimes as well. We have to be in order to look after ourselves and nurture ourselves, but never at the expense of other people. Never at the expense of other people. And I do see people that are struggling to maintain their virtue and their honor and their dignity and their integrity because the nature of the society we live in demands that they be narcissistic. There's no fucking way, in my perception, we're heading into any age, any golden fucking age in the next 2 or 3 years before 2030. No fucking ascension. Forget about it. The reason why EKPYROSIS will happen, and I'm praying that it fucking does in the next 15 years, and this civilization is completely decimated and destroyed and is ashes on the ground in the next 15 years. If it happens, and the people that we are not holding accountable, think about it, what's happened in the last 5 years. Who's been held accountable for all the injuries to people thanks to medical procedures that happened in the last 4 years, 3 years? Who's been held accountable? Who's in jail? Who's been held accountable? Where's the Nuremberg trials for all the people that have been murdered by these particular medical procedures? Let alone what the end game of that medical procedure is. No one has. And why is that? Because people do fucking nothing. Good people do nothing. So therefore, in my perception, it has to happen. EKPYROSIS, the transformation through fire, needs to fucking happen. And a lot of people are going to lose what they call their lives in their bodies. So maybe it's time to get used to, and maybe it's time to get, not even used to, it's time to get familiar with your Creator and know that you might not get through. Because you just not embody that which needs to be brought into the new age. If you can bring in the virtues of the virtuous, integrity, honor, and authenticity into your life, dignity into your life, and every action you take as much as you possibly can, maybe you'll get through. Maybe I won't get through the next 15 years if EKPYROSIS begins in earnest this year. Like I've already done a video on the 4 gas giants being on the backside of the sun. No one's fucking talking about that. And best case scenario, nothing happens, at least on the macro scale for the planet. But shit definitely has gone haywire for me last weekend. Last Saturday, Sunday, I had unbelievable problems I had to deal with in regards to tech, phones, technology. It all shut itself on me. And it put me to a place of deep surrender and acceptance for what was happening. I was so frustrated for 2 days. My time was being eaten up by trying to fix my tech. But I know at some point I'm going to have to let that tech go. And this morning I realized that. And I realized I had to let it go and surrender to what was. And everything worked out, sure. For me, in the meantime, it's worked out really well. But at some point in the next 15 years, I'm quite comfortable with the idea of losing all that tech and no longer making videos, because there will be no YouTube, there will be no computers, there'll be no cell phones, there'll be nothing. And I say bring it, raise it to the fucking ground, burn it all down. And it needs to happen. And our society, our civilization, everything about it, bring it to its knees and decapitate it, burn it to the ground, cremate, and from the ashes may the phoenix of the Dwapara cycle rise out of those ashes in that age of transformation. And according to the work of Bibhudev Misra, by 2040, the survivors of the next 15 years, the survivors, and there will be such, I think, in my perception and my feeling, so few people will survive this EKPYROSIS, because people are so cruel, so self-absorbed, so psychopathic, and especially in the parasite class, sociopathic, no empathy, no compassion, because they're possessed. They're possessed by lower astral entities, and people can laugh all they fucking want. I don't give a shit. It's pretty obvious to see that there's no humanness, no one's humane within that parasite class. They want to extinguish your life and harvest your consciousness and take it into the 8th sphere for their masters. One of them being Aruman. The whole idea of the transhumanist movement is simply that. It's Aruman, as Steiner said, moving through the culture to create that, to harvest the consciousness. And with that medical procedure, who knows? Who knows? But my feeling is everyone who's had that medical procedure is not going to make it through to 2040. No one will. Unless you can override it in some way, whether the water in your body overrides it because it's attached, it's attuned to the life stream of the planet itself, whether your actions are more virtuous, honorable, have great integrity and dignity. And there are many people that I know that I have had that medical procedure whose actions are like that, who are authentic, real, honorable, virtuous people. And maybe, just maybe, the water in their bodies, if you watch the work of Veda Austin, look at her work, maybe the water in their bodies will change their cellular structure, and they will make it through as that tech in those medical procedures and all the other junk that's in there in those medical procedures that were administered from 2020 to 2022 and beyond get released from the body altogether. But in my perception, we have enabled this system to flourish, and it needs to be erased, all of it. And those of us and many people won't make it through. So many won't make it through because we have enabled it. And every day people still give their power away to these corrupt, fraudulent, fictitious, public entities, corporations, people, parasites. Every day you give your power away to these parasites, and you enable a system that's deeply corrupt, inhumane, to flourish. And we expect that we're going to transcend into some 4th or 5th dimensional fucking existence. It's fucking like, it's kicking the fucking can down the road, man. It's kicking the can down the road, and it's massive misdirection, because in the present moment, which is all you have, that is the only opportunity for you to act virtuously, honorably, with authenticity. To be a good man, to be a good woman, to know your Creator, to get connected to your Creator. To be humble before your Creator and take no authority from no one except your Creator. To understand natural law. To understand the nature of the cycles that are taking place, and you're a part of that cycle. It's an incredible time to be in your body, embodied. But it's an even more incredible opportunity to move into, as Bibhudev Misra says, to move into a place where you are acting with authenticity, with dignity, with integrity, with virtue, with honor, towards one another and towards the entire, all of creation, our planet, our terrestrial planet, all life, all of creation. Because that energy, bringing that energy of the Dwapara cycle into this cycle, through your actions, your words, and your deeds, and your thoughts. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm doing my fucking best to do all of that, as he says, because maybe, just maybe, if I don't make it through in my body the next 15 years, if I get annihilated by a comet strike or an asteroid strike, or there's a war, and I get killed in a war, a global conflict, as Baby Dev Misra says, at the end of every Yuga cycle, there's a global conflict. If I lose my existence in this body, at least I will be in the life stream of the planet. And therefore, I've got no fear of death. None whatsoever. I've been around it all my life, and I've died more times than I probably care to count. It's all ego. It's all ego. The whole idea of survival. There's a deep sense of surrender and acceptance that I feel after this weekend just gone by. At the end of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle, I feel the energy is there for me now, and I'm moving into it energetically. I can feel it. I can make deep affirmations, make my actions count, and my words count even more. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Please take this message to heart and understand that the best case scenario, EKPYROSIS, the next 15 years, goes into overdrive. And at the end of that, end of 2040, by 2040, we're living in a whole different civilization that's going to be built up from the ground up, from the ashes of the end of this civilization. And if we're living in hunter-gatherer groups and communities, and we're looking after one another and the planet around us, that ain't a bad thing to me. That's a good thing. And maybe, just maybe, that's where we need to start again. Thanks for watching. Mā te wa. I'll see you again soon.